Hello, and welcome to our session on micro-credentialing in your district session 3. So in this session is the third in the three-part series of how to set up a micro-credentialing project and program for your district or your school. My name is Kline. I'm the coordinator of digital learning at Twin Lakes School Corporation in Monticello, Indiana. And I'm going to take you through the final steps and really kind of putting it all together, getting your micro-credentialing system put all together. We've already gone through how to create your checklist for the badges you want to create, how to create a badge in Canva, how to create your criteria, and how to create a submission form for your teachers or your educators. And then now we're going to get into creating your Google site, and then also how do you create your badge and how do you award your badges to the teachers. So before we get started, a couple of things to remember. We are on the On24 learning platform. All windows are resizable and movable, so you can specialize your own learning experience. You have the related content box that should have a Google Doc or a PDF with some related links to any of the 3 sessions that we have done with micro-credentialing. And then really instead of submitting your questions through the Q&A, since this is not a live session, what you can do is I will flash my Twitter account and my email address. So feel free to reach out at any point. I'm always happy to help others grow and learn, and even collaborate with some items as well. And then finally, there's the toolbar, so you can move things around. There's some other features, and then you can bring back your minimize tools as well. So with that, let's get started. So today we're going to be putting it all together, and our goals for this session are going to be learning how to create our badge account and upload our criteria. We're also going to be taking a look at Google Sites to house our criteria and badges. And when you are creating a site, you don't have to use Google Sites, but my school is a Google G Suite for Education holder. So we are using Google Sites. You can use Weebly, you can use WordPress if you want. I just like how everything connects with using G Suite here. And then finally, we're going to talk about, we're going to view the existing workflow on how to put it all together. So I'm going to take you through the different steps on kind of where I start. We're also going to put it through like when it is in connection with your teachers, how do you award these badges and everything. So let's start off by creating an account in Badger. Credly is also another free option you can use. I just have some experience using Badger, but I wanted to let you know there's 2 different options. I feel Badger is pretty simple. Credly I haven't really dug super deep into, but I just wanted to let you know that there are some other options when you get out there. So if you go to badger.com, notice there's no E, it is badgr.com. And once you create a personal issuer, I logged in, I signed up using my Google account just to keep everything similar. You can sign in however you like. So in this case, you can see that I have, for when we take a first look at my name here, I've got 38 badges created so far, and we're going to get into how we award these. So if I click on the issuer, you can see the different badges, some of them that we have, and what we're going to do is you can either click on create a badge here, or you can import a badge if you have one elsewhere, and let's do create a badge. So when you get into create a badge, you're going to see these different options. So you have where you have your badge image, so you can select a file, put it in there. You can name your badge. You have your description, and then you have your earning criteria, and finally a criteria URL. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the steps for making a Google Docs 1 badge. I already have this already located here with my, pulled up here with my Google Doc for my criteria. So we're going to go in here. I'm going to go into my folder, and I'm going to find my badges folder. I'm going to go into here, and we're going to say, hey, let's look at our Google Docs icon. So I'm going to download this image, my PNG image. And once that gets downloaded, I'm going to say, yes, that's Google Docs, thank you. I'm going to go over here to Badger, and you can either drag this up or you can select it from one of your files. I'm just going to drag it up here. There we go, there's my image, and I'm going to call this Google Docs 1.0 because I'm going to have to delete it later anyway. So now if we have our description, what I do is I just go over to my Google Docs doc, and I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it in here for my description. And then I'm going to go down here to my earning criteria, and I'm going to copy and paste all of this info. And you might have to do a little bit of editing afterwards because when I paste it, it doesn't have my bullets. So what I go back and do is I just get rid of this extra space, and then I just start numbering, 1, 2, and so on. Finally, your criteria URL, this is where you link this Google Doc, or if you're using Word, you can also use your OneDrive link for that. So I'm going to choose my link here. I'm going to copy that. We're going to go in here. I'm going to paste it, create my badge, and voila, here we go, Google Docs 1.0. So now say that I have some teachers that have already submitted their Google form and say, hey, I did Google Docs 1.0. I'd like to get my badge if I could. So you go through whatever they submitted through their URL, whether it's a screencast or whether it was like another Word document or Google Doc. They demonstrated everything that they have done. And you click on this blue button for award badge. So I click on award badge. I can type in their name. So, hey, I'm going to give it to myself. And I'm going to type in their email address. And I can type this here. And I can say, here's my issue date. I can give them any kind of, message. Thanks for submitting your evidence. You did a great job. And so what that's going to do is once I'm done, I can put an expiration date. That's optional. More evidence, that's optional. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to go ahead and award the badge. So once I award that badge, then I can go over to my personal email here, and we'll see if it would pop up. But what should happen is I should receive the badge in my email from myself in this case. So we will we're up. Here we go. Badger, congratulations, there you earned a badge, and then here is my badge. So it's a pretty awesome way to be able to create your badges. This is why I like Badger. Some people ask, well, why don't you just send them the PNG from Canva? Well, I like Badger for multiple reasons. Number one, it's very simple to create your criteria, just copy and paste. It's also very easy to award your badge. And then it's also going to house all the badges for these folks that have joined as well. So everybody in my district is going to join Badger that is doing badges, and they're going to have Badger is going to house all of their badges. So that way they don't have to worry about finding them in their email somewhere else. They don't have to put all of them in their email signature, if they don't want to do that. And it's going to house everything. So that way when they need to display, well, what have you learned? Well, then they can display these badges, and they just have a nice little print off that they can take from Badger and upload to whatever system they use to represent their learning every year. So that is how we get into Badger. That is how we create and award badges. So let's move over here to our next one. There is in the file for this presentation, there are some steps here on how to create your badge. I even talk about dragging your badge from your taskbar and everything, but we're going to move on here to the next piece because I already demonstrated this. So Google Sites. I like Google Sites because it just implements with everything else G Suite for where I've created items and everything. So I can just pull it. It's integrated fully into my Google Drive. I can pull my files over, drag and drop. It's fairly simple. Feel free to use whatever you are comfortable with, but this just seems to work really well for my district and what I have created. So if we look at our Google Sites, this is our preview page, and this was demonstrated, this was shown in our first session. And you can see that I have the different sections up here that teachers can go to. So if they go to our Google, that's going to show all the Google badges. Microsoft's going to show all the Microsoft badges. You can go down here on the front page. What's a project? What is a badge? Here's our submission form, even though they already have the link to the submission form on the bottom of their doc for their criteria. But if I go into Google, you'll see, or sorry, to the Google page, you will see the different titles. There's a line separating items here. There's the badges. Once again, these are nice and simple to create. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to sites.google.com, and I'm just going to start a new site. So I'm just going to call this Keep Indiana Learning Badges. How about that? Call it Keep Indiana Learning Badges. And let's go here with our title. So we'll say welcome, or we'll just say, actually, let's make this Keep Indiana Learning Badges. So that's going to be our title. We could call it over here, we could enter the site name. Here's our site. We're going to call it the Keep Indiana Learning. I should call it Micro-credentials. We'll call it badges. Now, this looks rather boring here at the beginning. So what I always like to do before I start creating too much is I like to go over here to the themes. And what you notice here, you have an insert, you have pages, you have themes. For insert, you have the four you probably use most. You have your text box, your images, an embed code, you have where you can pull anything from your Google Drive. We also have different layouts and a few different features that you can do down here. So here's my divider lines. Here's a button that you can specialize as well. And if I go to pages, this is where I can create the different pages that I have up top. So I had Google, Microsoft, distance learning, assessment, and on and on. But before I get creating all that, I like to check out my themes. So Google is, it doesn't have as many fancy themes as what some people like, and that's why some people don't like Google Sites. Well, you can always change your header and your banner. You can create something in Google Drawings, pull it in if you like. So I'm just going to go here to Vision, and we'll go green here. So that's going to be my theme. And what happens is now when you insert items, this is going to go along with this theme. It's going to check your, give you some different options for color schemes. It's going to give you different options for your fonts. And some, like I said before, some people like having a whole slew of options. I, on the other hand, like having fewer options. So if I put in my text box here, I can give them a large welcome to the Keep Indiana Learning Badge Program. And I can even make this smaller if I want, because I like that font, but I'm going to make it a little smaller so you can get everything in there. I can pull a divider over here if I want, and I can add that in place. There's already a divider here, so I probably wouldn't put that. So I can click on the trash can. I want to add some text. So I want to talk about, what is the badge program. So I can just start typing, whatever I want in here. I can start adding some images as well. You can do a lot of things here. And the cool thing is you can just bring it over. If you want to change your layouts, we can change our layout. So maybe I want to move this font down here. So maybe I want to take all this, put it down here. I can do that. I'm going to get rid of that for the moment. So say I want to start creating my different pages. So I'm going to go here to pages, and I'm going to say, I'm going to create a Google page. I'm going to stick with using my Google Docs 1 here. So now this is my Google page. Notice how it added Google up here at the top, and it also took me directly to that page. So I am going to go back to my Insert menu, click on Text Box, and I'm going to call this, instead of giant title, I'm going to go heading, and I'm going to call this Google Docs. And I don't have a divider, so I like having a little divider here. I'm going to add that. And now I'm going to start adding the images for my different badges. So now I've created my badge, and if you haven't added it into your Google Drive, or if you did add it into your Google Drive, you can pull it up from your Google Drive. So if I go into my Google Drive, I'm actually going to go into my starred, and we'll see if it'll pull up my starred, because this is where I have my badges here. So if I go in here, I'm going to go into Google, and I'm going to drag in my Google Docs badge. So I'm going to double click on it, or I can move it over. You can crop this if you want. You can use this little slider, make it bigger or smaller. Notice how when I go out of that size, it's kind of hard to see the white lines, but you can see that it's graying outside of there. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, fit it right there. Boom, I'm happy with that. So there's my badge. So now what I want each of these badges to do, though, is I want them to hyperlink to my Google Doc, right? Say I only had this one badge, I can move this image now, and when I hold down with my left mouse click, I can move this wherever I want, and there's some guidelines from the back. I could center this if I want. Notice if I center it, there's the guides on the bottom that help me figure out if it's centered or not. Say I'm only going to do one badge, so I would center it. Right? If I'm going to do two badges, then I might move it over here somewhere, and then I can put another one over in this space. If I'm going to do three, I'm just going to start here on the left. And now I'm going to get into my hyperlinking. Sorry, that was a little bit of a segue, but now we're going to get into hyperlinking. So I'm going to right click on my image. Sorry, just click on my image, left click on my image. And notice there will be like a little chain link here. This is where I will insert my link. So I will insert my link. It gives me a box. So I'm going to keep open my Google Docs criteria that I had. I'm going to go to this page. I'm going to copy my link once again. I'm going to go to back to my Keeping AI Learning badges, and I'm going to paste this link, and I hit apply, and boom. That shows that whenever I click on this image, it should open up that criteria page. So let's check it out. So how can I check this out? Well, I can either click on the image and click down here and do that, but I want to kind of see what it's going to look like as a little preview. So within Google Sites, you'll see this big publish button up here on the right. And I can click on this publish button, and this gives it a web address. You can call it whatever you want. Honestly, what I do when I share this website with my educators in my district, I give them a shortened URL using a bit.ly format. And so this looks like a very long URL. You can keep this, but I shared my bit.ly is what I did. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to publish it. And there's some different settings there you can do. So now let's preview it. It's always good to preview your website as you're creating them. So I'm just going to go home first. So here's what my home page looks like. There's my KLs, J's, and everything. And then I can go to my Google right here. And if I click on this image, this should take me to, it should open the criteria for Google Docs 1. So I click on that, and voila. Here we go. There it is. Yay. How nice is that? Pretty awesome, right? So I have created my website. I have created my images. I've dragged those up, and it looks pretty sharp, and it's going to be pretty nice. I'm going to be able to share that out to my teachers. So I know that was a little crash course in Google Sites, but hopefully that will help out a little bit. So then finally, we're going to kind of look at, what workflow is going to work best for you. So if we're talking about your workflow, that goes into once you create your badges, how are you going to learn about people submitting their badges, right? How are you going to award them? Well, we know we're going to award them through Badger, is how I'm doing it. But how do I get notified? Well, those are from my form notifications, right, that I get sent directly to my email. Once I get those form notifications, I can go over to Badger. I can see, once I get those form notifications, first I want to look at what are they submitted through their link. I can look at those, and then I can go over to Badger and I can award that badge fairly quickly. Some teachers also like to give out PGPs. So when you talk about your PGPs or when you're awarding your badges, are you going to do that as soon as they come in? Are you going to do that on a weekly basis? Are you going to let your teachers know, hey, I will do this like every Thursday, I'll do this every Friday, things like that. And then the third thing, teachers are going to want to know, when do I get my big external award? So what I've done is I've created different levels, and you have to get like 15 badges to go up a level. And once you get to that level, then the teachers are going to be able to choose from there. Well, are you going to just let them, something about it is like, are they just going to, as soon as they do it, are you going to let them do it? Are you going to do that every month? Things like that. So you just need to find your workflow. What's going to work for you? Whether it's from the creation of the badges to the creating of the website to awarding the badges and then awarding anything external after that. So just keep those in mind as you are deciding to create your micro-credentialing system for your district, along with everything else. And so I hope that this session kind of showed how to put it all together and what's it going to look like in the final phases after I've created my criteria, my checklist, and all that fun stuff. So I want to thank you very much for joining in with this process with me. I know it's been 3 sessions here. Hopefully you got a little bit out of them. It looks like a big project, and it honestly is. It is a big project, but I've had just great feedback from the teachers. I've had some teachers that have left the district, and they're like, oh, I was so looking forward to this, and I don't know if they're going to have it elsewhere. So think about those micro-credentials or the badges as a little sticker. Okay, you got a sticker, and who doesn't love stickers, right? We love getting stickers when we're little kids. Kids love getting them, whether they're in elementary, middle school, high school. So keep up the great work. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me here on Twitter. Feel free to reach out with me through my email, and keep learning.